In this episode of the Concrete Detailing in Revit series, you will learn how to effectively model rebars around openings in slabs and walls. I remember the days when modeling reinforcement around openings wasn't the easiest task. Many of you might recall my Dynamo script, which aimed to automate this process and make modeling such rebar designs less tedious and time-consuming. Since then, Revit has introduced many additional functionalities to improve and speed up the concrete detailing process. This time I will present an approach without using Dynamo, leveraging the latest features in Revit to show you that using Revit's out-of-the-box capabilities, this process can also be effective. First, I will use the placement by 2 points method and edit constraints to properly check and constrain the bars to the opening faces. Then, I will use propagate rebar to adapt the reinforcement from one side of the opening to the other and to other openings in floors and walls. I have placed the U-shaped bar in a rough position, and now, using rebar constraints, I can accurately specify the dimensions of this rebar and also verify the constraint reference planes. First, I select the bar plane and choose the top face as the constraint target, then I set an offset of 100 mm. Next, I select the out-of-plane extents and pick the bottom face as the constraint target, with the same 100 mm offset. And finally, I need to select the start of bar and end of bar, and constrain both of them to the cover of the side face with an offset of 800 mm. Now, I am going to model the edge rebar. I will click on the extension of the cover line outside the opening face and roughly place the bar passing through the opening. When clicking the cover to place a bar using the placement by 2 points, parallel to work plane or perpendicular segment, the bar will snap to the cover. Now I select the bar and edit the constraints. First, I will select the top end of the bar and constrain it to the top face of the opening, setting an offset of -1000 mm. Then I repeat the same process for the other bar end. Now, I need to adjust the position of the edge rebars by editing their constraints. First, I create a detailed section by cutting through the side of the opening, then I go to that view. I select the bar segment 1 handle and click the segment of the U-bar to constraint setting an offset of -10 mm. Then I select the bar plane and click the top and bottom segments of the U-bar respectively. This means that the edge rebar set will follow the U-bar segments. From my previous video, you already know that in Revit you can copy and adapt shape-driven and freeform rebar from the source host to destination hosts. The bars are adapted by matching the rebar constraints. The bars are automatically aligned by the host or manually by the source and destination faces, and this time I will use the latter method. First, by selecting the bars I would like to copy, and then clicking the propagate rebar command. Since I selected the rebars, the command starts in the align by face mode by default. Now I need to select the source face and then the destination faces, and so I managed to quickly define the reinforcement around the first opening. I intend to use this just defined reinforcement by copying it to the other openings. It's worth noting that the openings to which I will be copying this reinforcement do not have to have the same dimensions as the base opening. What's also very useful is that during the propagation process, I can utilize the reinforcement from the slab openings and define the reinforcement for the wall opening simply by selecting the appropriate destination face. And there you have it, my reinforcement around several openings is ready. Finally, I would like to show you how quickly we can modify reinforcements for any opening using rebar constraints. We can do this simultaneously for several selected rebars. When you click the start or end of bar for one of the sets, you may notice that the corresponding end is highlighted for the other bars. Now, I can edit the offset to -600 mm, and this is applied to all corresponding ends and keeps their respective constraint targets. It's worth emphasizing and remembering that there is no relationship established between the source and destination bars after propagating. The modification that I made at this moment will not affect the change of reinforcement bars around the remaining openings. If you would like to have modified bars in the remaining cases, you can edit the dimensions of all bars or edit the source bars, delete the previously propagated bars, and propagate again. That's all for this episode of the Concrete Detailing in Revit series. Thank you for watching and happy reinforcement modeling!